Trump administration prepares to seek Raul Castro indictment as it pressures Cuba, AP sources say. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Add AP News on Google. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Share Miami app. The Justice Department is preparing to seek an indictment against former Cuban President Raul Castro. Three people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press on Friday, as President Donald Trump threatens possible military action against the communist-run island. One of the people told the AP that the potential indictment is connected to Castro's alleged role in the 1996 shootdown of 4 planes operated by the Miami-based exile group Brothers to the Rescue. Castro was defense minister at the time. All three people spoke on the condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to discuss an ongoing investigation. The Cuban government did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The potential indictment, which would need to be approved by a grand jury, was reported earlier by CBS. The AP reported in March that the U.S. attorney in Miami had created a special working group of prosecutors and federal law enforcement to build cases against top Cuban officials amid calls by several South Florida Republicans to reopen its investigation into Castro's alleged role in the 1996 shootdown. As Trump seeks to wind down the war in Iran, speculation has been growing that he may soon turn his attention back to Cuba after pledging earlier this year a friendly takeover of the country if its leadership didn't open up its economy to American investment and kick out U.S. adversaries. CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials, including Castro's grandson, during a high-level visit to the island on Thursday. Read more. Castro, 94, took over as president from his ailing brother, Fidel Castro, in 2011, and then handed power to a handpicked loyalist, Miguel Diaz-Canel, in 2019. While he largely has avoided the spotlight since retiring in 2021 as head of the Cuban Communist Party, he is widely believed to wield power behind the scenes, a fact underscored by the prominence of his grandson, Raul Guillermo Rodriguez Castro, who previously met secretly with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Cuba's shootdown in 1996 of 2 Cessna aircraft operated by the Brothers to the Rescue was a watershed moment in decades of hostilities between the two countries. At the time, President Bill Clinton had been cautiously exploring ways to reduce tensions with a Cold War adversary less than 90 miles from Florida, but faced stiff opposition from exiles who organized publicity-seeking flyovers of Havana, dropping anti-Castro leaflets, and aiding Cuban rafters fleeing economic deprivation and single-party rule. The Cubans had warned the U.S. government for months that it was prepared to defend against what it considered deliberate provocations. But those calls went unheeded and unfed. 1996 missiles fired by Russian-made MiG-29 fighter jets downed 2 unarmed civilian Cessna planes just beyond Cuba's airspace, according to an investigation conducted by the International Civil Aviation Organization. A third plane, carrying the organization's leader, narrowly escaped. With hindsight, it appears the Castro's motive was to slow down the Clinton outreach because they needed the U.S. as an external enemy to justify their national security posture, said Richard Feinberg, who worked on Cuban issues at the National Security Council at the time. They succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, said Feinberg, a professor emeritus specializing in Latin America at the University of California, San Diego. Shortly after the shootdown, Congress passed what became known as the Helms-Burton Act, which codified a U.S. trade embargo enacted in 1962 and made it far more complicated for successive U.S. presidents to engage with Cuba. To date, the U.S. has convicted only a single person of conspiracy to commit murder in connection with the Brothers to the Rescue shootdown. Gerardo Hernandez, the leader of a Cuban espionage ring dismantled by the FBI in the 1990s, was sentenced to life in prison